Hello, everyone. My name is Tessa Roscon, and I'm an intern at Pioneers Review, which is a young adult and children's literary publication. And today I'm joined by Cynthia Harmony, author of the picture book, Ciudad Sings, which is out now. Hi, Cynthia. Do you mind giving yourself a brief introduction of yourself for our viewers?
Sure. Hi, Teresa. I'm excited to be here today with you chatting for Pioneers Review. And I'm Cynthia Harmony. I'm an educational psychologist from Mexico City, and I've been living in Tucson for over 12 years now. So I wrote, this is my debut picture book, Mi Ciudad Sings. It's also published in Spanish, Mi Ciudad Canta. It came out in the same date. It's published by Penguin Workshop, and it's illustrated by Teresa Martinez, who's a Mexican illustrator.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Do you mind giving us a brief information about what actually inspired the story of Mi Ciudad Sings?
Sure. So Mi Ciudad Sings, it's the story about a little girl and her dog Pancho on their daily walks to her mama's floreria. And on the way, they witness an earthquake happens, and they witness the neighbors coming together to support each other in the aftermath. So it is a story of a celebration of kindness, the bond with our families and neighbors, with our pets, and with our community. And this story was inspired by a real event that happened in Mexico City in September 2017. There was an earthquake, and all of the community came together. Like, they really didn't wait for all the official rescue efforts. They just knew, because it's a city that is very used to earthquakes, and this was a stronger one, but they were used to that. They knew what was needed from the previous earthquake that happened in 1985. So they just showed a lot of generosity and kindness, and it was inspiring all over the world. They created some hashtags called Mexico de Pie and Fuerza Mexico, and it was followed throughout the world because it was an example of generosity and kindness.
Wow, that's so amazing to hear. The illustrations in this book I felt were so gorgeous. I love the use of the bright colors, the attention to detail with the background characters. There was such like a diverse set of characters, and I felt like their expressions were so very distinct. How did you and Teresa Martinez work together to make the illustrations and the writing flow so seamlessly together?
I just have to say, she's extremely talented, and she's a master of detail. Like, all the details in the buildings and, like you said, in the characters are amazing. Like, you could just spend a lot of time just admiring that. And how it usually works for picture books is that the publisher, they share a list of different illustrators that might take the project, and then they offer them. And then Teresa, luckily, she accepted, and she had time in her schedule to work on this book. But normally there's not a lot of communication between the author and illustrator during the first part of the process. So I did not communicate with her very much, but we did have my editor and the art director. So that we basically shared everything with them first, and then they communicated with everybody. So it was a teamwork. Like, everybody really wanted this to be a good and an authentic kind of book that portrayed the community in the way it really is. And I think that's from the beginning. I share like pictures of the actual parks, of the actual places and people, how it happened, like in newspapers. And I share all that with my editor, and then the art director share that with Teresa, and then that's how at the end, towards the end of the process, they do share drafts of the art with me, and then we get to like change a few details or ask if she could add a few things here and there. For example, landmarks for the city were added a little bit, but it was just, her work is just like an interpretation of the text, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, that's really amazing to hear. And actually leads to my next question about, are there any like specific characters or locations in the book that were inspired by like real people and places, maybe places you knew in your childhood or anything really?
Yes, I think so. Actually, in the text in the beginning, it mentioned the name of the neighborhood where I used to live, which is like Condesa. Who it was a neighborhood that was very affected in this particular earthquake. My editor thought that it would just be like too local, so she wanted to make it a little bit more broad to the city. So we didn't leave it in the text, but it does come up in the art because I shared all those pictures with the team. And then Teresa also, she's from so she's from a different part of Mexico, and she lives in Puerto Vallarta. She's not from Mexico City, but she visited because she had a family there. So I think in her memory was also there's this neighborhood called Coyoacan, where Frida Kahlo had her famous house, and it's now a museum. And she based a lot of the art in that particular neighborhood. So that's a lot of what you see. And then in terms of the characters, Pancho is based on my on my dog. Like he was my dog. He passed away 2 years ago, but he was the most amazing, loving dog. So I really wanted to have that character to bring comfort to the main character.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I love the little dog in the book. It was so cute. Um, so like you mentioned before, me Ciudad Sings actually had a simultaneous English and Spanish release. Could you tell me more about maybe the impact that release had? Did you notice any like difference between engagement compared to one release over the other?
So that's that I don't know that I noticed. That would be hard to tell for me at this point because it's so new. The book has only been out for less than 3 months, so
Okay.
we don't really have any numbers. But I do know that people were really excited. Like there's a lot of immersion schools. There's a few in Tucson, and then there's all over the country, and they were very excited to have this option. And I've shared these with some teachers that teach Spanish, and they really liked having the book. And then for parents that are not familiar or don't know Spanish, but their kids do, their kids are learning, they wanted to have both versions. So it was really exciting for them. And I also heard a lot of comments like they enjoyed having two separate editions, because sometimes when it's a bilingual book in the same book, it seems like everything fits, it's a little tight, and then you don't get to enjoy the art as much. So I also heard those comments that people appreciated having the two separate ones to choose from, and also having a simultaneous release was important. That was something I was really hoping for, that we could offer both languages at the same time. So many times they wait a few months before the English version comes out, and this time it was simultaneous, and it was very exciting. And I think, yeah, people like to have both options.
Yeah, I know that was fantastic to hear. I know I personally don't know Spanish that well, but I really like that you made this book bilingual because I was, even though I don't have like a lot of Spanish, I could still make inferences on like what the words are about. And it's also great that in the end you even include a glossary. So it's also very educational while also entertaining.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, the English version has sprinkled Spanish all throughout, and yeah, and then that glossary is helpful because even if a lot of people might know Spanish, but this was uh, very much about Mexico City. It's a detail, like it's like my love letter to Mexico City. So it really has details that maybe if you've never been there, you might not understand completely. So that's why we added the glossary for the food offerings and all those kind of things to give more details and to give that experience to the kids that might not be able to travel to certain places, but they get to experience what it's like.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Do you actually have a favorite panel in the book? I know my favorite panel is was the one where the little girl's reunited with her mom. I thought that was very heartwarming. So do you have a favorite?
Yes, there are many. Though that's one of my favorites when the mom says "mi corazón" and their meeting is just, yeah, it is heartwarming. And I have another one that I think Teresa did a wonderful job. It's where she's standing, her mom's behind her. She already found the other lost pet, and they're just looking at everybody that helping. And then there you can see like this is where the Marines and everybody's just like helping out. And there you see the jacarandas like framing the spread. The jacarandas are the trees in Mexico City all over. And they're beautiful. And you also see the dogs. There were dog helpers and rescuers in real life, and you see them in that spread. And I love that part. One of the dogs was named Frida and became really famous. So I love that because it looks very much like it was in real life. And another spread that I also really liked, it was a moment that also happened in real life. Towards the end of that day where they were doing the rebuilding and the cleaning and of efforts in the aftermath, people were getting tired, and probably it was also emotionally hard. And then someone started singing Canta y no llores, which is this Mexican old song, which means sing, don't cry. So everybody around started singing, and there's videos that people took of that moment where they're just trying to give each other strength to keep going and hope. And it's very moving. And then that's in the spread as well, when she brings the pet back to the baker, and then he starts singing and everybody starts singing with them. So I'm very excited that made it into the book, in the text and in the art, in both moments. It's my favorite one.
That's awesome. So are there moments when you're writing for a picture book and some like parts in your first writing don't make it into an actual illustration?
Yes. So because it's a picture book and it's really tight. The word count needs to work. It needs to be paired with the art. Sometimes there's no room, so we did have to cut maybe I think a spread or maybe a page of text, because it was my writing is lyrical and I like that part, but I think we agreed that it didn't bring a lot more to the story, and we needed all that the space for the art, so we had to cut a little bit. Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't even be able to tell if something was missing because the book flows so like well. And I feel like any children that go to pick up this book are gonna instantly fall in love with it. So moving away from the book for a little bit, I'm a little interested in learning more about you and as well as the publishing process. So what is it like being a debut author, or at least a debut picture book author?
It's exciting. It is very exciting. Don't really know what to expect, but once it really comes out, it's a long process for picture books. It takes 2 years from when you get the offer to actually holding the book in your hands, because of the art and a lot of things. So it's long. So when you finally get to hold it and read it and enjoy the art, it's just wonderful. It's a wonderful experience. It's really moving. You can't really believe, oh, these words were in my head once and now they're here in an actual book. So it is very exciting. And then having people read them and read it, and then the reactions you get from kids, that part has been like amazing. And it's also like a little confusing. You don't know exactly what you're doing, and then you're just figuring it out as you go. And then you have this team of people that like luckily will, your publisher and your agent, and I have 2 other groups. I have a promotion group of other picture book authors that have released books this year, and I have another group called Las Musas, who is only writers and illustrators from Latin America that have books coming out this year, or it's this year and the following. So it's a debut and sophomore year.
All right. What actually got you interested in writing picture books? I'm always interested in for authors that write children's literature, what makes them more attracted to writing that literature in a certain format?
Yeah, so I studied psychology for college, and then I studied education for my master's. And while I was doing my master's, the research, I went to Spain for that, and then the research became my first book, which was a textbook. or during that time, I like rediscovered picture books and books for younger kids, and I wanted to go back to that. So I first started with educational books and textbooks, and then I wanted to go to with the younger audiences. I was also working in museums, so I've been working for kids for a long time. We created the exhibits, the labels, the educational guides. This was children's museums and science museums, and I love that part. But I also wanted to have like an actual book that had these the art in it. That was something that was a goal. So I went to classes specifically for that, for picture books, and yes, I just kept working at it.
All right. So I know that at Pine Ridge Review, we're always trying to promote diverse books, because there is definitely a need for more diverse books in children's literature market. How do you hope to contribute to the representation of Latino culture in children's books, or at least in the market?
Yes, well, by sharing my authentic experience, I think that's really important, and that's something that we're lacking. There's a lot of representation from other, for the mainstream, the white people and animals are like the majority of books for picture books right now for kids. And then thanks to groups like We Need Diverse Books, which I got a mentorship from them a few years ago. And I think that support has really changed things, has really, we're starting to see more of these books. And then from creators, not just the characters that are diverse, but also the creators. So I think just getting those resources, that support helps, and then bringing your authentic experience, which will be different. Like I grew up in Mexico City. I wanted to tell this story because it's very close to my heart and my experience. And it will be very different from someone in the south of Mexico and the north of Mexico, and then other countries in Latin America, which I think it's really important that we get all of our stories out there, so people can know that there's diversity within the community.
I noticed on your website as well as your socials that you do a lot of school visits as well as picture book readings. Do you mind kind of going into detail about what this experience is like, what you enjoy most about it?
So, because I've worked with kids before, I think I just really enjoy kids and their questions and reading to them. So yeah, school visits, it's really fun for me. Some others are kind of nervous about it, but I find it really, really fun, especially the younger kids I'm really comfortable with. So it's talking about, and they have the best questions also, the best ideas for their own stories too. So you basically just want to feel that joy for reading and writing, and share your books.
That's great to hear. I believe you touched on this, but what do you hope that children, when they read this book, are going to take away from it?
Oh yeah, yes. I don't think we talked a little bit about it, but I think yes, I was asked this question before, and I think it's really interesting. It's not really that I want them to take to have a message, but I do want these to be a conversation starter, like for educators, in the classroom, or for parents to talk a bit more about the ideas behind this, like what's happening. For example, in this last story time that I had, I asked this question, at the end, the last spread is like, what do you think is happening? Like, what does this mean? Like, when everybody is, back in the rhythm of the city. And a boy said, well, they're just the music and the song, the music doesn't stop. And I want them to get that message, that even if we face challenges, that if we come together, that we have the skills and the ability to move through that, the difficult emotions, whatever we might experience, we can move past that. So I would hope to have them have more conversations about other challenges that they experience, and how they could contribute, or how they have done in the past to make it better for themselves and for the community, even if it's the family, the classroom, or the whole community.
I definitely can see this book definitely promoting that sense of having a conversation. Um, do you by chance have any more children's books coming out that we should keep an eye out for?
Yeah, next spring, I have my first board book coming out for, I think that goes for 0 to 4 years old. And it's a series of books from Barefoot Books. It's they have a board book from one country, you know, for each country. Like that right now they're bringing out, I think, 10 books per season or something like that. So my book is about Mexico. So it's a day in the life of a preschooler in Mexico, and they wanted it to be from a creator from that lived in that, you know, in that background. So it would be a lived experience story, authentic and you know, like the crafted with like representation. So that one's coming out next spring, and then I have another picture book coming out next fall. That's also with Penguin Random House, but that's with biking, and that's called A Flicker of Hope. And that story is about a girl in the monarch reserve in Mexico, and she follows how the monarchs live for their journey to the north to go to Canada, and her dad leaves as well. And then the monarchs, she's waiting for the monarchs to bring her dad back home. And so it's a parallel story of the girl's dad and the monarchs. And that comes out next fall.
That's awesome. Are they also gonna have a English and Spanish release, or are you currently working that out?
Yes. So the board book won't, because it's for babies and it's really small format, but it also has Spanish words included. And then the other picture book will be also released in Spanish with a simultaneous release the same date as Mi Ciudad Sings.
And will these children books, as well as maybe the other children books to come into fruition, keep with the themes that were present in Mi Ciudad Sings?
Not exactly. This next one it has to do more with immigration.
Okay.
And the relationship with a daughter and a father. But it has to do with like a relationship with family and the bond with the family. And then also, you know, it's just all of my stories are rooted in my heritage, in what I know about Mexico. So this particular one was inspired because my sister works has worked in different organizations for the environment, and she worked for the monarch reserve. And she got to work with the community, which is called the Mazahua, the indigenous community in that area. And she shared, the products that they made. She shared the videos, the pictures, and stories about her, experience. And that's what inspired this particular story. So it also talks about, the crafts and the things that we can do to help in the future.
Well, we'll be sure to keep an eye out for those releases. That's all I have for today. Thank you so much for talking with me. It's been such a fun conversation.
Thank you, Teresa, so much. I really appreciate your time, and I'm really happy that I got to talk to you.
Yeah, so Mi Ciudad Sings is a fantastic picture book and is currently available for purchase in both English and Spanish. If you're watching this, we also have a review of the book up on our website as well that you should definitely check out. Once again, thank you so much, Cynthia, for talking with me today. I hope you have a great day.
Thank you, you too.